And Councillor Thompson has an introduction to the second, which is a public information, not a hearing. Councillor Thompson.
Okay. The purpose of this session is to consider applications made to City Council and to hear public feedback with regard to those applications. All persons who believe that their interest in property within the boundaries of the city is affected by the application shall be afforded a reasonable opportunity to be heard or present written submissions respecting matters contained in the application that are the subject of this hearing. No one will be or should feel discouraged or prevented from making their views known. This hearing is open to the public, and all representations to council form part of the public record. A live video and audio feed may be broadcast and recorded by GFTV. All information, correspondence, petitions, or reports that have been received concerning the application have been made available to the public. The correspondence and petitions received after April 24th, 2019 are available for inspection during the course of this hearing and are located on the information table in the foyer of the council chamber. Members of council may ask questions if they so wish. However, the main function of council members is to listen to the views of the public. It is not the function of council to debate the merits of the proposed application with individual citizens or with each other at this hearing. Council's debate on the proposed application is scheduled to take place during the next regular council meeting after the conclusion of this hearing. It should be noted, however, that for some items a final decision may not be able to be reached at that meeting. It must be emphasized that council will not receive any representation from the applicant or members of the public after the conclusion of this session. During a public feedback session, people sometimes become enthusiastic or emotional. Regardless of whether you favor or oppose any application or argument, please refrain from applause or other expressions of emotion. Restraint enables others whose views may or may not coincide with your own to exercise their right to express their views and have them heard as in an impartial a forum as possible.
Thank you. All right, we'll open this information hearing. So even though we're reading the same basic information, we will have a little more freedom here to dialogue. So I wonder if the proponents would like to make a presentation in terms of this this particular application.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor and Council. Thanks for having us here. My name is Annette MacArthur, and I'm here to support the application for the cannabis license at 7439 3rd Street in Grand Forks. That property is getting to be quite well known, and it's also home to the Canifest office, the production office, which is in the back of the same addressed unit. So at this point, one thing that I really want to lend to this conversation is I spent a lot of time in the Vancouver Pain Society compound that Chuck Verabioff has been operating for a very long time. And although the Canifest office was adjacent to it and not part of it, the safety features are a really big thing for me. I'm looking for, is there riffraff hanging around? Is it a troubled area? And the answer is no. The security and the safety that even all day today we were dealing with to ensure that we have the best systems up and running, to make sure that it's not going to be intrusive to the community, that there isn't an opportunity for people to hang around. Typically what people will do is they'll come in and they'll make their purchase and they leave. They're anxious to get home and partake in whatever it is they were shopping for. So I can't stress enough how much of a supporter I am for this model and at this location.
All right. Council, dialogue? Do you have cameras, security cameras? Is that part of the expectation
Yes.
of the province?
Not only is it part of the expectation, but we've probably gone even further than certainly further than what the minimum requirements are. From every angle, from rooftop to sidewalk, the area and space is covered. And it's not hidden cameras. They're very, very much in the open so that people know if you come into this area, eyes are watching, and recording is happening. So the security thing is a really important part of what's going on.
Councillor.
I live and work on the corner of 3rd and 75th, so I'm just in the next.
Hi, neighbor.
Hello there. And I'm thinking that the security that's going to is around your store is going to benefit us all. And I certainly have no problem with that, with your store.
There's been a couple of incidents since introducing the security cameras where they've come in handy for other things.
Yeah.
That alley can be a little bit of a challenge. And so the cameras are positioned so that they can see right up and down the alley and around the corner. So it is helpful.
Well, thank you for that.
Councillor Thompson.
Are your security cameras vandal-proof?
Yes. As vandal-proof as they can be. I mean, nothing is really vandal-proof if somebody really wants to get in or take a hockey stick and whack one up. But the thing is that there's security on top of that security. So there are alerts and there are alarms that will trigger if there's any tampering that's happened, and then it will continue to record. So it's pretty high tech and pretty necessary. And plus it ensures the safety of the people that are inside the building. Much like a liquor store or other clothing stores, you want to make sure that your merchandise goes out the door paid for, and you want to make sure that your staff is safe and secure. So for as many cameras as you see gathering information outside, there's just as many, if not more, on the inside. And there are extra security measures like a panic button and so on. So it's not Fort Knox, but pretty close.
So Mr. Varavidov's claim to fame was also the vending machine. Is there any role for that in the new legal framework of things?
The short answer to that is if it's allowed. And because it is a very good and safe way to dispense. I'm sure that he does want to go that route. Again, if it's allowed, it would depend on all the packaging things and the requirements that provincially and federally are put forward. So it seems to be something that works quite well. So.
Is there a certification of your staff in terms of recognition of people who are over intoxicated?
I think that that's going to go without saying, and again, that's part of what the requirements are going to be when the Liquor and Cannabis Control Board puts that in front of us, just like a serving it right would be as far as serving liquor.
One last question. How many storefronts is it taking?
One. It's one unit in that 3rd Street Plaza.
Okay.
Yeah, the very
Corner one?
the very south corner, so that's 7439. Each one of the units in that plaza are individually numbered with their own street address. So 7439 is the one closest to Lord Co.
Okay.
So it's the north end, right? No, south end. I was right the first time.
Councillor Studley.
To staff, I guess. Right behind this location, there is the 4th Street Dance Studio. How does that fit in? Because that is youth.
So that's a really valid and good question, because we've looked very closely at the 100-meter circumference, which is an as the crow flies a perimeter that's been put around the application process. It's been extremely challenging to reach those people that are operating those businesses, and it's because their hours are so intermittent with various classes. Sometimes it might be, but that business in particular, from what I understand, is primarily adult oriented, but they do have some youth programs that from time to time happen there. Just not recently. I've had a really hard time getting a hold of them. There's a couple of others as well that are a little bit farther away, but we still want to make sure that that there isn't opposition for any reason. So that is something that is on our checklist to make sure that those businesses and their clients young or old, are aware of what's going on.
And now, how do family events factor into that? Because I know tomorrow night they're having a concert there that's open to people of all ages.
The way that we look at it too is that business, from what I understand, and I could be wrong because I'm still in the research phase of that part, in preparation for May 21st. So from what I understand, it's legally, it's the same as if a parent and child walked into Lordco or any of the other surrounding businesses, the hockey store, for example. I don't think, and I could be wrong, but I don't think that it's 100% under 19 centered, that business. So again, we'll address it according to the laws that we have to work within.
Do you expect a long delay before you get open now? What's your sort of time frames here in terms of being open?
We don't expect a long delay because so much of the process has already been ongoing. We don't expect the Crown Courts Council and will take too long to help us along with that decision. So soon is the best answer that we can give people. We are in the waiting process just like every other applicant is as far as the provincial and federal levels.
Further, council?
I'll throw this out here. We talk about our town being a tourist town and whatnot. So one thing that comes to my mind is whether or not we talked this morning about posting signs for no smoking for our current bylaw. Whether or not there's a need or maybe just a good practice. People from outside the community, mainly the states, knowing that you cannot buy it in the store and light up on the sidewalk, whether or not there's a need for signage to say such things.
I was actually going to bring that up because I was in on that conversation this morning as far as the smoking bylaws, and it applies to us as well. The distance from entry doorways and things like that, where the model that I have to compare to the closest is the Pain Society in Vancouver. There's no smoking signs everywhere. People do not go in and make a purchase and then just light up outside on the deck or in the driveway. Quite literally, they take their package, they get in their vehicle, and they go wherever they go, home presumably. So we'd be bound to the same bylaws that everyone else in the city is bound to.
Councillor Crowd?
Yeah, I think all of the businesses should have that like that signage, just to remind people. In Washington, it's not an issue because you can't smoke it anywhere. Well, so you have to buy it and leave.
Yeah, and that's because I was down there this weekend and saw that in a storefront.
Yeah.
Saying that you cannot open up your package and smoke on the street, basically. So.
Right.
Good idea.
So we're not strong on a sign bylaw yet, but you're expecting, I'm assuming, to have some visibility from the highway.
Yes, and that's in part of what the application is. So the signage that is above the building, which is consistent with the other markings of each of the units for that plaza, that's in the works, and it is, from what I understand through the mock-up, it's just the lettering of the name, Grand Forks Cannabis, which is the proposed name. We also want to add a little bit of privacy and advertising combined on the storefront, the window storefront. So there's been a few ideas that are thrown around for that, but again, you know, whatever council allows or doesn't allow, we'll just govern ourselves accordingly.
So no giant inflatable marijuana leaf that does this.
Well, that's a good idea.
I'm thinking.
So your business is going to be a highway business, so I think it's important that you have that visibility there.
So then, which one is it in that building? It's not the hockey store.
So from
and it's not the hearing store, or?
No, so the Canifest office right now, which is in the back of the Grand Forks Cannabis store,
Yes.
which it's still to be officially named, I think it just went through. That is 7439 on that map that you're looking at. Okay, so that is the unit. Next door to that is newly vacant. That's again in the strip mall.
Pizza place.
former restaurant.
Yeah, yeah.
Then beyond that is the hearing center. Beyond that is the thrift store. And then beyond that is the hockey store.
Oh, okay.
So there's one unit right now that is vacant.
Do you have any handicap parking in front of your?
Well, yes, we do. As a matter of fact, we have, I think in total, there's 4 stalls in that strip mall. Our particular unit has 2 spaces right in front of it, and we've just been talking about making sure that there's designated parking for that area. It's because we know that a lot of the customers will have mobility challenges, so one of the benefits of this space is there isn't a need for ramps or lifts or special things like
Right.
you would
easy
expect.
entry.
Very, very easy in and out.
Councillor Thompson?
So the entrance, will it have the, so you can buzz in and the door automatically opens?
Short answer, I don't know, but if it's a requirement, given whatever is presented to, through the application process, if it becomes a requirement, then
No, I'm thinking
It
of
would have
people in
to.
wheelchairs and that, for the ease of, opening the door and getting their wheelchair through.
And it's funny because just today I witnessed somebody go into the hearing center, which is just 2 doors down from us. And he was having a very difficult time carrying an oxygen tank and so on. And something like that there would have been very, very helpful. So I kind of thought about that today, but, valid point.
Yeah. All right, that looks like we've exhausted our questions, and thank you very much for your presentation.
Thank you.
Wrapping it up, council, any final words? Okay, yeah, I mean, we're in not a hearing, but is there anyone else that wishes to speak to this in the audience?
No written submission.
At least one person says, just give them the license.
Tell Chuck to log off now.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll help you.
Okay.
You have a taker.
Okay. Hi, I'm Tammy and Verabioff, and I'm in support of the store.
Well, thank you, Tammy.
Okay. Thanks. It's okay. It's on record.
I'm Rebecca McLean, and I'm also in support of the application.
Thank you. So we have audience support. And Les?
The whole.
I'm in support. I can't wait for the vending machines.
All right, we'll call this to a close. Thank you very much.